Welcome to the JLLB Media podcast, episode 16. So let's talk about your brand. Is it maybe feeling a bit, outdated? Like maybe it's not grabbing the attention you think it should. Or worse, it could be sending out uh, kind of the wrong signals entirely. Today we are diving deep into rebranding. And just to be clear up front, this is so much more than just picking a new logo or, slapping on a fresh coat of paint. Our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is really to unpack the strategy behind rebranding, going way beyond those surface level makeovers. We want to understand how you can actually strengthen your business's core identity and, importantly, build a much stronger connection with your audience. And we're doing this by pulling out the key insights, the really impactful stuff, directly from the source materials you provided on this exact topic.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because rebranding, it's such a pivotal moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's this huge opportunity to really clarify what you're all about, strengthen your place in the market. But, and this is the big but, if it's not handled strategically, really carefully, it can backfire, it can cause a lot of confusion, or even, like you said, push away the very customers you've worked so hard to keep loyal. So this deep dive, think of it as a shortcut, really, a way to get genuinely well-informed on what can be a pretty complex process.
Oh.
We want you to grasp not just the what, but the why behind it, and crucially, the how to do it right.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit then, because when most people hear rebranding, the first thing that pops into their head is usually the visual stuff, right? New logo, maybe change the website colors, and boom, job done. But looking through these sources, it's so clear that that's just, the tip of the iceberg. It's way more than just a cosmetic fix, like putting a fancy new door on a house that maybe needs foundation work inside.
That's a great way to put it. It's definitely not just a visual refresh. It goes way beyond picking a new font or tweaking the color palette. What these sources really hammer home is that true rebranding, the effective kind, is a fundamental strategic shift.
Yeah.
And it impacts, or it should improve, every single way your business is seen, felt, and remembered. Every touch point. Now, if you do it right, it clarifies your message beautifully, it boosts your market position, and it really reconnects you with the right audience, the people who get you. But here's the flip side again. Get it wrong, and you risk alienating those loyal folks and just creating a whole mess of brain confusion. Making that distinction, between just a surface update and a real strategic evolution, that's absolutely critical for any business thinking about the future.
Right. So understanding it's this deeper thing, the strategic evolution, that really brings up the big question, doesn't it? How do you know when it's actually time? When is your current brand maybe holding you back instead of pushing you forward? Because like our research shows, this isn't a decision you make lightly. It's a big investment. Time, resources, everything.
That's a really essential question. And thankfully, the source material gives us some very clear signs to look out for. Signals that a strategic rebrand might be needed. One of the most common ones, maybe surprisingly, is simply that you've outgrown your identity. Think about it. Maybe your services have expanded hugely since you started, or your main audience has kind of shifted naturally over time, or maybe your vision for the business is just bigger, clearer, more ambitious now. If the brand you have today doesn't really feel like you anymore, or where you're going, that's a huge red flag. It's kind of like wearing clothes from 5 years ago that just don't fit who you are now.
And it's not just about how it feels inside the business, is it? It's also about what you're broadcasting out there. Oh, absolutely. Another really clear sign is if your audience seems confused. If you find you're constantly explaining what you do over and over, or you feel like you're always having to clarify your unique value to potential clients, well, then your brand isn't doing its job communicating clearly for you. A strong brand should shout who you are and what you do clearly right from the first interaction.
Yeah, I can totally see that. That constant explaining must be exhausting and probably slows things down too.
True.
It's friction. Exactly. Friction is a good word for it. And tied very closely to that is, if you're attracting the wrong clients, your current brand might actually be sending out signals, maybe unintentionally, that appeal to people who just aren't a good fit for your services, your company culture, your core values. And that leads to frustrating projects, maybe higher turnover, just misalignment. Also, and this is maybe more obvious, if your visuals feel outdated or inconsistent, it's not just about looking old. It could be that your logo, website, marketing stuff, it all looks a bit scattered. Different styles, no real cohesion. It's like trying to have one conversation using 5 different voices. It just muddies the message.
Okay, so not just dated, but disjointed and failing to connect with the right people. What about when big things change inside the business?
That's another key trigger, definitely. If you're about to launch something significant and new, maybe it's a whole new line of products, or you're expanding into a completely new market, or even adopting a totally different business model, These big shifts often demand a new brand identity to match that new scale, that new ambition. And here's a really important point from the sources. Rebranding isn't admitting you failed. It's not a sign of weakness at all. Actually, it's consistently shown as a sign of growth. It shows you're a smart, forward-thinking business that gets that evolution is just part of staying successful. Smart businesses recognize when it's really time to evolve.
That's a really powerful way to frame it, isn't it? Not a last resort, but a proactive move for healthy businesses.
Okay, but here's where it gets, well, really interesting. Because if you don't approach it with that strategic mindset, our sources lay out some pretty serious warnings, some major pitfalls. This isn't just about maybe wasting some money. It can actually do real, lasting harm to your reputation, your position in the market. Yeah, it's quite striking how often the sources say businesses rebrand for the, quote, wrong reasons. Oh, things like just chasing the latest design trend because it looks cool. Or maybe the founder's just personally bored with the current look, which is a subtle trap, actually. Or, and this is a big one, thinking a new look will somehow magically fix deeper business problems that need, actual operational fixes. When you act on those kinds of impulses, what you usually end up with is a rebrand that's all surface. It might look shinier, maybe,
Right.
but it lacks any real direction or substance underneath.
Right, like that analogy earlier, putting fancy paint on a wall that's crumbling. Looks okay for a second, but the cracks are going to show right through.
Exactly. And when you go into a rebrand without that clear strategic plan, the negative effects can be huge. Your messaging starts to feel off, disconnected. Your audience gets confused. You risk confusing, even losing your most loyal customers. And maybe, worst of all, you can break that emotional connection you worked so hard to build. Then your marketing feels out of step with your actual values, your real purpose. Even your own team might not know how to talk about the brand consistently anymore. It really does, as the sources put it, trade clarity for chaos, which is the absolute opposite of what a good rebrand should do for you.
Trades clarity for chaos. Wow, that really sticks with you. Okay, so if that's the warning, what not to do? What's the strategic how-to? Our sources really push this core idea, the JLLB Media approach. You need to evolve what's no longer working while protecting what still matters. It's not about wiping the slate clean, it's about thoughtful change, intentional transformation.
That's the core philosophy, exactly. JLLB Media's approach, as outlined here, is really structured but also deeply intentional. It's based on what actually works. It starts with auditing what you've built. Before you change anything, you take a hard look at what's already working well. What do your current audiences love about your brand? Which messages are actually landing? What visuals still feel right, feel true to you? The goal here is to figure out what's genuinely valuable in what you already have, so you know what to keep, what to carry forward. So many businesses skip this in their rush for something new, but it's foundational. Imagine finding out your audience loves some quirky thing you were about to ditch that's gold.
That makes so much sense. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Find the strong currents first.
Precisely. Then, the next crucial step is revisit your core purpose. This means asking those really deep why questions again. Why does this business exist, really beyond just making money? What impact are you truly trying to make? What's the big long-term vision? Our sources say this core purpose acts like an anchor for everything that follows. It's the thing that stays constant, stays true, even while the visuals or the voice might evolve around it.
Okay, so grounding the whole thing in your why, your long-term direction. After that deep dive and the audit, what's next?
Then you define what's changing and why. With real clarity, you need to spell out the specific problems this rebrand is meant to fix, or the opportunities it's designed to seize. Are you trying to reposition yourself completely? Maybe attract a totally different audience? Or is it more about elevating your look and feel to match a new level of professionalism or scale? Being super specific here ensures the rebrand is a clear goal, something you can measure, not just a vague hope for better.
And before you get to the fun part, the creative stuff like colors and fonts, there's that other really vital strategic piece, right? This feels like where a lot of efforts might fall short if you're doing it yourself.
You absolutely nailed it. This is a classic mistake rushing to the design phase. You have to map your brand strategy first. And yes, this comes before any visual design work gets started. This is where you define things like, what's your brand personality? Playful, serious, innovative, established. Who is your absolute ideal audience? Where do you sit compared to competitors? What's your unique spot? What's your brand voice sound like? What are the main messages, the pillars? This groundwork is just non-negotiable. It gives your new brand clarity, makes it cohesive, gives it real depth. Without it, the visuals are just pretty pictures. They don't mean anything deeper.
That makes perfect sense. The design has to flow from the strategy, not just follow trends or what you happen to like. Building the house on a solid foundation first.
It really is. Yeah. Which leads us right into design with intention. Yes, this is often the fun part, but it's so important to stress that every single design, choice, colors, fonts, imagery, layout, everything, it must tie directly back to that strategy you just worked so hard to define. It's all about making sure the visuals powerfully amplify your message and connect authentically with your ideal audience, not just chasing what looks cool right now.
And then finally, after all that hard strategic work and the careful design, you can't just like flip a switch and hope everyone gets it right.
Exactly right. The last step, and it's often overlooked or underestimated, is communicate the change. A rebrand is a big deal for a business. Treat it like one. You need to bring your audience along on the journey, share the story, explain what's changing, but also, and this is key, be transparent about what's staying the same, what core values aren't changing. That open communication builds trust, deepens that connection, and helps make sure everyone understands and hopefully embraces this next chapter for your brand. It's about inclusion, not just announcement.
These steps really lay out such a clear, thoughtful path. And our deep dive also highlighted some really great tangible examples from JLLB Media's work, actual case studies showing this evolution, not erasure idea in action. It makes it all feel very real.
Oh, these case studies are fantastic. They really show how each brand became, as the source says, more of itself, not less.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, there was a coaching brand. They'd grown, started offering these really high-value services, but their original look was kind of playful, a bit DIY, and it was actually attracting clients who weren't quite the right fit anymore. So JLB Media helped them keep that vibrant personality people loved, but gave them a much more sophisticated visual identity and clearer, more focused messaging. The result? They started consistently attracting that higher ticket, better aligned audience without losing their soul.
That's a brilliant example, refining the appeal without losing the core. What about the tech world? Things move so fast there.
Yeah, there's also the story of a tech startup that was making a major pivot, moving into a totally new, much more specialized niche. So the rebrand wasn't just a facelift. It was about strategically repositioning their entire message, rebuilding their website, refreshing the visuals all to match this new direction. But crucially, they managed to do it without losing that sort of innovative, scrappy, slightly rebellious vibe that their early fans really connected with. It was about channeling that energy, not killing it.
Maintaining that core energy while adapting strategically. Very cool. And there was a nonprofit, too. Those always have unique challenges around history and emotion.
Exactly. The sources detailed the transformation of a legacy nonprofit. And you're right, that's delicate. They needed to modernize, but couldn't risk alienating longtime supporters who have really deep emotional ties to the history. JLB Media helped them create a fresh, contemporary identity system that really honored their past and their mission. But it also created the visual and messaging space they needed for their next chapter, for growth, for reaching new audiences. In all these cases, the coach, the startup, the nonprofit, the principle was the same. The brand became more authentic, more itself, not less. That's the power of doing it strategically.
Okay, so after hearing all of this, you might be sitting there asking yourself right now, okay, am I ready for this kind of deep dive for my brand? And our sources actually give you some pretty direct, powerful questions to ask yourself right now to kind of gauge where you stand.
They really do. To get a real sense of your brand's current health and future readiness, ask yourself these things honestly. Do I feel genuinely proud when someone visits my website or sees my marketing stuff? Think about authenticity, too. Does my brand really reflect my current values and my vision for the future? Or is it still telling an old story? Then, effectiveness. Is it consistently attracting the right kind of people? Or am I getting inquiries from folks who just aren't a fit, causing friction? And finally, looking ahead, does my current brand actively support where my business needs to go next? Or does it feel like it's maybe limiting my growth? The sources are pretty blunt here. If you answered no to any of those, that's a really strong indicator that it's probably time for a strategic rebrand. It's a sign your brand needs to evolve to match your ambition.
And that's exactly where, as our sources highlight, a partner like JLLB Media comes in. They don't just focus on the redesign part, they help you realign. It's about getting that deeper connection right, that clarity of purpose, making sure your brand actually fuels your future, not just reflects your past.
That really is the heart of what they do. JLD Media works with founders, with teams, nonprofits, small businesses, startups. Anyone who's ready to grow, pivot, or just seriously level up their game. And crucially, they help you do it without losing that special spark, that unique essence that makes you, well, you. Their whole process blends that deep discovery, really getting to the soul of your business with sharp brand strategy, and then finally, that intentional creative direction. The goal is always to create brands that feel both completely fresh and somehow beautifully familiar. It ensures your future is built on clarity, not chaos. And they use their full suite of services, business consulting, marketing strategy, visual design, website design, to support that whole strategic rebranding journey, making sure every piece works together perfectly.
So rebranding really doesn't have to mean erasing who you are or throwing out everything you've built. Not at all. Instead, it's about strategically sharpening your story, focusing your message, and then showing up in the world with more purpose, more clarity than ever before. It's smart evolution.
Yeah. And if we just connect this to the really big picture for a second, maybe ask yourself this. What fundamental part of your business's soul, its core essence, might just be waiting, maybe even a little impatiently, for this kind of strategic evolution? What change could unlock that next big chapter of growth and impact for you?
If you feel like you're ready for that kind of brand evolution, not just a quick makeover, and you want to explore doing it the right way, strategically, the sources mentioned you can book a complimentary 20-minute consultation with JLLB Media. You can find the details for that and links to everything else we talked about today right there in the show notes. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.